what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Find Your True Fire podcast. And today, I'm very honored and privileged to be here with the man that does a lot. He does a lot of, you're going to hear from him. He does dancing, singing. I mean, a multi-talented. He's the producer of this podcast. My father, Carl Alleyne. How's it going, man?
What's up, everyone?
What's up, man? What's up?
Oh, cooking up, doing our thing. Trying to support you, man. I'm a squirrel in your world.
Hey, so if you guys don't know, as I mentioned, he is the producer of this podcast. So he took time to be able to, hop on and be part of this interview. But I'm super excited. You don't see a lot of, father-son interviews. It's cool. Right. We're doing this right now. We're cooking, doing our thing. That's
right. And I'm not sure if you realize this, but wow, we've also done Your Brand Express podcast. This podcast we share together. Mm-hmm. And we're going into your space now, working with educational leaders and working with youth, coaching youth and doing public speaking. And it's cool to see how you've evolved. I mean, you've already done your thing with the YouTubing and the gaming, but I'm so proud of you, man, just with what you're doing, man.
Appreciate it.
I love supporting you. I could watch you all day doing what you do.
That's cool. Yeah, so this is real. This is the live interview. Honestly, it's surprised we haven't done one before. It's interesting. Well, something like this. This is dope.
Yeah.
But I'm super excited. You all will get to hear about his background and things from him and principles from him. He's also a public speaker and a presence king. That's your title, Presence King. So it's really, really dope. I know I talked a little bit about you already, but do you mind telling everybody on your Find Your True Fire podcast a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. That's a good question. Like, what do I do? Well, I love what I do because I've been a performing artist for 36 years.
Wow.
And so being a performing artist, I did, and I still do things like singing, dancing, choreography, artistic development, which includes choreography and overall presence and costumes and all that stuff and imaging and all that stuff. I've done modeling, I've done, where do I start? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Performing artist for 36 years. And, I was part of a singing group called Casual Male back in the 90s. Yeah, we toured different places. We got record deals. Back then you get record deals like literally you couldn't do. There was no online thing going on where you could do stuff on social media. So, we work with record companies and stuff like that. We were always striving to put out music and doing shows. And then as I got older, I joined a band, and with that band we recorded music and put out a couple albums.
Yeah.
And we also toured with that band. And then after that evolved into me becoming a talent agent, actually, where, I've, doing dancing and singing choreography with the choreography, doing dance instruction and things like that for different places in New England. And when I became a talent agent, I had my talent agency here, and then I moved it to New York City. And that was a wild ride. That was when you were like 2 years old, man.
Wow.
That's crazy. That you were 2 years old. And so what I would do is I would connect with different artists and choreographers and movement coaches and dancers and models. And basically these are artists who are triple threats. And I was in charge, along with my consultant, were in charge with helping them develop and craft where they wanted to go, where society said you got to go up the different ladders. We taught them to say, hey, no, you're going horizontally. One day you'll do a Broadway musical, and then 12 months later you'll do a tour with an artist, or you'll do a music video. If you're in town within that tour, you'll do a commercial, you'll do, so we're able to set artists up. And some of these artists got a chance to do Broadway shows like In the Heights. Bombay Dreams. Some of our artists work with Michael Jackson for there was one major project he was doing back then, and it was for his Diamond Award. He got a Diamond Award actually at some point. Some of our choreographers work with Chris Brown. Oh my gosh, Don Omar. The list goes on. And it's interesting saying this stuff because I'm like, you're in that industry. It's like once you're out of it, it's gone. It's done. Forget it. You just forget about it. You kind of just keep moving forward. So that's been my experience. And now, like what I do now is, my friend, my business partner, friend Monty, dubbed me Presence King, because it's that idea of being present. And, when you're showing up on camera or showing up on stage, you want to be present. You want to be 100% there.
Yeah.
You want everything to be able to execute, communicate, amplify as loud as you can, not in a rude way, but to your fullest potential.
Yeah.
So that's the whole idea with what I do. It's a lot of fun, and I get a chance to work with business. Now I brought it into the business world. Actually, all my experience of being a choreographer. Oh, by the way, I did choreography for movies, like working with Brendan Fraser, Brooke Shields, and yeah. So with those skill sets, I'm able to do that and help people, everyday people, business owners, coaches, and people like that, communicate and amplify to their fullest potential on camera and on stage, and to have fun with it too. This whole process, even with what we're doing, we're bugging out, we're doing our thing. It's fun. This is great. I always tell people, like, with all this stuff, even you doing your podcast, this is cool. This is fun. This is free TV. Literally. I mean, people, sometimes people trash social media, but they don't have all the information. They see the negative side, but they don't see the positive side.
Definitely. Stuff
like this can really bring a lot of value to people's lives, and personally and professionally. So, but to answer your question, that's what I do now. But all that culminated into what I do now. So that's why I share all that.
That's super cool. I think I'm always impressed by the way you manage to, like, it just looks like you balance all these things so easily. I know for me, when I was doing, like, there's a point in time where I was strictly YouTube 2K consecrated, because I felt like anything else I could never balance it. But then I look at you dancer, singer, preacher, like, you're doing everything. It's like, dang, like, how do you even balance all that? That's incredible. It's cool to see, even how you put it all together, and you bring that, like, stage presence into business. That's like, I mean, that's rich. That's rich off experience, and you bring it to the business world. I mean, there's nothing like that. You're not gonna find much people like that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because working with coaches and entrepreneurs and business owners and performing artists too. I like, with coming into the business world, is interesting because you hear a lot of things like, you got to niche down, you got to have your avatar, you got to focus on one specific group, which I had a hard time because I'm like, I didn't want to be pigeonholed, because coming from the entertainment industry, you remember that show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Yeah.
Okay, there's that character Carlton, Alfonso Ribeiro is his acting name. So I noticed, I've learned from experiences like that. You had certain actors who they did so well in their roles, so well, that when they try to move on, when that show ended, they had a hard time getting work. So for me, I was like, I didn't want to be pigeonholed. Like, anything I do, I don't want to be pigeonholed, because there's more to me than this specific thing.
Yeah.
And people think differently about that, but I know that's how I think. So for me, that was very important, to be able to have some kind of umbrella and be able to fully express myself, because if they don't get the real me, they're not going to get me, and I'm wasting time. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's good.
That makes sense.
No, definitely. And you even, because you talked about kind of like being put in a box, like you don't want to be put in a box.
Yeah.
Even just being able to be free. I think like, well, a question I have is like, how did you kind of transition from time to time through all these things? Because I'm sure you didn't necessarily just like, I don't think like you quit these things necessarily. You kind of have these abilities that you transition into business, but how do you transition from like being a talent agent, or to even being a music producer, to being someone that choreographs, someone, how do you just transition and bring that?
I think I gotta admit though, I think some of it has to do with the things I've been able to do, because when you're a performing artist, you got to go from one thing to the next. If you have to go to a show, if you go to a big, like there's one time I think this was the case too. I danced for an artist named Neil Young. Yeah, we had to show up early, and there's this term that people say, hurry up and wait. So I had to hurry up and wait. So, you learn how to get yourself together. You learn how to get ready fast. Like, if you're between performances, you have to change your costumes and things like that. You have to learn how to really be flexible and learn how to adjust. And so for me, learning how to do that, I feel like I've been able to bring that into this arena. Now life is different though. We have, have a big family, right? So it's different. So the way I think now is not, oh, let me get myself boom, boom. I'm thinking, how can I get my family and navigate in transition? That was a big thing for me, because if I can't transition and navigate professionally, which personally is connected to that, I know that you all are affected in any choices that I make. So the choices that I make, I'm thinking about you guys and how can we navigate together as a family. It's like, how do we steer the ship as opposed to how do I steer me?
Yeah, that's true.
So that was always a hard thing. But once I got that into my mind and got used to it, when all the transitions happened, that it got a lot smoother for me. And also learning the power of reinvention, dude. That right there.
Yeah,
always learning how to reinvent yourself, man, and learn how to think differently. And that's an important thing. It's important to know how to reinvent yourself. In business, they'll say rebranding.
Yeah.
Same thing. But you think about it in life, we're always evolving, even when we don't want to.
Right.
Right?
Seriously.
Maybe if we hurt ourselves, we break a bone or something like that, we gotta adjust whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
So might as well be all there mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and make the adjustment and be all in with it and be engaged with it. That makes sense?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
I like
By the way, if I'm reaching my almo, that means I'm
Yes.
with the producer, I'm producing all the stuff. So the bells and the whistles in the background, I'm moving it.
Yeah. But that's cool. I think I like just the even like reinvention is definitely like needed because we can always grow. Sometimes you can get so used to like your profession or like your like your character of who you are, even if it's not on like a screen. I know for me, like on YouTube, like I portray, I'm being who I am, but that's who I'm portraying too. So like you kind of get in a way married to it. But I think in anything, it's easy to stay like not grow because of not reinventing yourself. So I think I like what you spoke about there too. It goes to show that it's not always the smoothest process, but I mean, even you having a kind of a lot to account for with that. You're being wise with it. It's cool.
It's hard too because CJ, it's I think for a lot of us, and I'm pretty sure you could attest to this too. But I know for us older folks, it's hard to change. It's hard to say, okay, now it's time to change. I mean, we could say it, but our actions, by our actions not doing it, shows that it's just hard to change. And sometimes we don't want to, or we want to in our core. It's just hard to make the move to do it.
Yeah.
So figuring out ways to make the transitions and changes and know that, that's how life is. We're able to adapt and gamify it, make it fun, be all in with it. Like I remember one thing I've been thinking out lately is as a performing artist, being so young, because I recently saw MJ. We saw MJ last week, MJ the musical, me and your mom. And that was so cool.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of, I was an MJ fan, but I was never one to really, not maybe a few times. I was one to sit in front of a TV and emulate everything he's doing, where a lot of people did. I missed out on that for some reason, but I did it with other artists and dancers. So I remember emulating and watching the way movers moved and singers moved and sang and how they engaged the crowd. And, you try to emulate it. Also with sports or movies like Bruce Lee. I saw how he, did things and I emulated. But I realized that was a childlike spirit that I had, so I felt like I lost it. So I'm just trying to get it back. And so for me, as far as reinventing and making changes, doing stuff like that helps me to get in gear and get in the mode of making the transitions. Even if I don't do a great job at it, or if I fail, at least I'm moving forward in that direction,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Like you hear about that. I mean, you would always tell me just like motion. There's a difference between like what motion and moving, or something like that.
Motion creates emotion creates motion. Is it something like that?
I think that too, actually, but more like sometimes you can move and stay put, but also sometimes you can. There's a difference between like motion and like staying still. Like it's important to actually keep moving forward because instead of because it's easy to stay put when things get tough, but like when you're actually have motion, you can continue to develop and things like that. So.
Oh, dude, I totally know what you mean. It motion is so important. When you're moving, you're able to get momentum. When you're moving and going in a direction, even if and it's a balance too, because sometimes you could be doing all these things around the house or whatever, and you ain't going nowhere. And sometimes it's good to sit still. There's a season for that.
Yes.
But other times, if you can at least, even like for instance, if I'm working in my business, right, and we have the same business pretty much.
Yeah.
We just have our personal brands for those who don't know. By the way, we should do some kind of behind the scenes thing sometime.
That'd be fun
to show the world how things are, how we work with the stuff. But I might start my business out in the day. If I'm starting to get stuff done, or even starting my process of getting myself going. Having my prayer walk, reading the Bible, writing out my goals, writing things out, or even working in my business. Set a certain time to do stuff. Like, one, schedule it, but two, even if I'm not feeling motivated, because come on, let's keep it real. We don't always feel motivated, right?
Yeah, it comes and goes.
It comes and goes, and sometimes it goes more than we
know.
Then it comes. But setting that time where I'll do something called the Pomodoro technique, where I'll time myself for 10 minutes and start something. Just do something to get moving for 10 minutes, and then that buzzer comes and I'm going. That gives me momentum. So doing little stuff like that, doing little tools that can help me to move forward is so important and so helpful for me. And even with reinventing myself, because that can help me to get into gear with my thinking in that direction, as opposed to feeling like I don't know what I want to do. And I really know what I want to do, but it's just comfortable thinking that and saying that and not moving forward. That makes sense?
Yeah, not for sure. Good point.
Yeah.
So, because we talked a little bit about, your path, but how, when we're trying to find our true fire and even like our identity, how can people like overcome like the barriers we were talking about, like the barriers of like, oh, I can't overcome this. It's hard, Yeah,
man, that's a tough one. Woo-wee. And it's tough, and it's tough for all of us, I think, and in certain areas of our lives, But I think at the end of the day, creating that environment for yourself, create that system or environment. Some people might say framework, that can help you to navigate, to help you to propel forward, to get, even if it's a little momentum, to help you to move forward is super helpful.
Yeah.
For some people, that might be writing in a schedule. Let me get my schedule done. For someone who might be struggling with their phone, they might be like, I can't let where's my phone at? It's in my pocket. This thing right here, I can't get it out of my hand. Get off.
Stuck.
It's stuck. I mean, hey, I'll keep it real. I've been there before. There's such great tools, but we can't be tools to them. We can't be tools to the technology. So if I want to, not have my phone so much, I might power it off and then put it somewhere. I may not want to, but eventually I'm gonna be fine moving away from it. If I want to, like I mentioned, the Pomodoro technique, if I want to do something and get momentum and get something done, I'll time myself. It's funny, I'll time myself. I have an injury in my foot, so now I time myself in the bath where I soak my foot for 10 minutes, and then it's like, okay, we're done. Just like I do that, that's creating an environment for me to move forward in what I have to do with a specific thing.
Yeah.
If I want to wake up on time, that's a big one too, right? Woo, sheesh. If I want to wake up on time, I could take my phone alarm, right? Set an alarm and put it in the hallway. And then when the alarm goes off in the morning, I'll shut it down. I'll shut it off. But at least that gets me out of bed and gives me a little bit of momentum.
Yeah.
I mean, now I try not to wake up with an alarm at all. Just I've learned how to do that. But there are little things you can do. The smallest things we can do, they make a huge difference in the things that in the overall scheme of things. That's what blows me away, And then repetition. The repetition is hard because I might start something and then I'll get bored of it.
Yeah. Real talk. Yeah.
Can also leave another tip too. There's a book by this woman named Mel Robbins, and she has a book called The 5-Second Rule. And the whole idea is that you count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you got to take an action. because our brains, her thought is in science has said this too, our brains are always trying to protect us. So there are things that we don't want to do, but before we could think about what we don't want to do, we count down and we take the action. So that's a cool book.
Well, I thought you were gonna say that. That's funny. 5-second rule. It's different in middle school.
Oh, no.
Like
I know you talk about. That's a different 5-second rule.
Yeah.
But we that applied to us too. We did that too. But those are some tools and tips that help a lot. Helped me out a lot. So
yeah, that's cool. Like that literally kind of goes into like what you're saying about gamifying what you do.
Yeah,
it's like in a way like a game, or even like I think about like school.
Yeah.
School does teach transition. Like when you're transitioning between classes, small. But like the fact that you have a 45-minute block and then at 1:30, that means you walk to the different class.
Right.
You put that's a good way to kind of like go about your work too.
Right.
It's like I have this 45 minutes, is what I set. I'm gonna go all out, and then once it's done, it's done. Take a break. Or next thing. It helps you to set your mind on this moment and not think about, oh shoot, what if I don't have this done by later? You focus on the now and be present.
Right.
That's good.
Dude, that's a great example. You know why it's a great example? Because in that system, the school system, you have other people holding you accountable. When you do it on your own, there is no one holding you accountable, baby. Woo! You got to do that all on your own, and you gotta muster up that motivation, and you got to find ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So dude, I love that example you gave.
Yeah. That's a good point. Another question I want to ask is just, how can like self-discovery coaching help you uncover and find your passions and your strengths?
I mean, one, it is good to have a coach. Even if you're a teenager, it's great to have someone who can help draw you out, ask you questions. And sometimes, people ask you questions, it can be annoying. Come on, why are you asking me questions? It can be annoying. But when you're intentional and you think, these questions are good for me to have so I can think about my thinking. We spoke to a few people in our other podcast, but also this one too, that talks about metacognition, a high way of thinking, our thinking about our thinking. And that helps you to be intentional. So that's huge, to be able to think about it and get someone to help you discover yourself, understand yourself more. It's funny because what I do with coaching, one thing I talk about is with the whole on camera and stage presence, is people have to watch themselves. And what I find is, and even with the performing artists, we're not always comfortable watching ourselves.
Yeah.
And there's some who might be, they might be on the vanity side more so, like, I love watching myself. But even for those who love watching themselves, they're not looking for the right things. So they can't draw themselves out. They can't move as fast as they'd like to move unless they're really focused. So, self-discovery coaching, I think about it like a mirror. You're able to have that mirror put up in front of you so you could take a look at yourself and you can learn yourself more, and you could get into mastery. You can master yourself, so to speak. So I think that's a powerful thing to have the self-discovery coaching. Get someone who can help you, to help draw you out. Even so coach is someone who can, ask you questions. It's been talked about in this podcast before, but someone who could ask you questions and help draw you out. Yeah. A mentor is someone who could say, hey, I've been here before. These are some things you might want to think about, or you should definitely think about this, and here are directions you can go. So one of those or both are really good to have as a teenager or as a young man or young lady, as a young individual. Yeah. Because it just helps you to move forward. And if you can learn how to do that in the earliest stage of your life, watch out, world, as you get older. Watch out. You know what I mean? That's good. Cook up.
Cook up. That's the
show.
That's our little phrase, hype moment. Cook up.
That's our hype moment. That's what we do.
Hype phrase.
It's what we do.
What we do. Facts. That's a good point. I think I know, because one thing too, he's also a coach. It's a lot of things, a man of many. But I think one thing with coaching too, you kind of help me see things that I can't. Yeah, like you said, you help me see things I can't see. Sometimes in in life, we all have not right, but validations for everything we do. Sometimes our excuses sound good to us, and our our wrongdoing seemed right to us because it was right in our minds. That's why we did it. We didn't do anything like, oh, I know this is wrong, I'm gonna do it. You think this is right, so I'm gonna go do it. But a coach can help you see, like, yeah, that's not smart, bro. Don't do it. Don't do that. Or they can help you learn faster than than you can learn yourself, because there's some things that you just won't be able to see until a problem or a mistake pops up that could cost you a lot. So you might want to avoid that, getting a coach, mentor, someone that can help you grow and mentor you faster than you can mentor yourself.
Right. Yeah, because it's you hear it too in the business world. Success loves speed, and not that you're trying to rush, but you want to be successful, so you got to move to where you got to get to. You don't want to hem and haw. You'll have your times where you'll have your seasons where you're down or you're trying to figure things out, and that's okay. But if you want to move forward and do some powerful things in this life, in this world, yeah, get someone who can help coach you or mentor you to speed things up for yourself, to accelerate it for yourself, to help you to be successful.
Yeah, great stuff. Good stuff, man.
Indeed.
So speaking of which, in a way, because we talked about motivation and just trying to stay pumped up. It's hard to do that, especially as your own business owner,
right? As
your own motivator, working on your own things, like this in life. It's hard to stay motivated,
Right.
And life gives us reasons not to be. So what are some tips to staying motivated and setting some achievable goals during that process?
So some tips of staying motivated is, like I mentioned, that book, the 5-second rule. That's a phenomenal book, man. I mean, it's great because you have these tools, and that's a great example, because what happens is you have these tools and these skill sets that you're developing, and you have tools that you could have in your pocket, just like this phone. You could have it in your pocket at any time in your day and pull it out and use it. But it's important to be intentional about it. So intentionally, you're getting a group of tools that you can get, like of that book, 5-second rules, and using it to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
And train, and as you think about it, you're training yourself. Think about it every day. Train yourself. If you have to, write it down in your schedule. iPhones and Androids, they have calendars you could schedule it. So if it's like 8:00 in the morning, hey, do whatever task I need to do, or 10:00 at night, put my phone in the hallway and set the alarm if I want to get up on time, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Like, schedule these events and make them larger than life. That's one thing I learned how to do too, Bobby, because we growing up with no money, growing up poor, you learn how to make things fun. You make the most out of what you have.
Yeah.
And that's important. For those who might have gone through certain pains in their lives, they some people learn how to do that too. I find that very helpful. If you could make what you're doing larger than life, make it an event, as opposed to, I got to go and do this. Even for business, I got to go and run some ads. No, let's do some ads. Let's make this huge. Let's make this powerful. Sometimes we have to do things even with our business. We're doing it late at night.
Yeah.
Make those events too. Time with family, make them events, make them larger than life. Because, everyone does this. When they go to an event and it's an event they really want to go to, like Six Flags or someplace like that, or an arcade or whatever, they're fired. I know for me, I'm fired up. I'm ready to do this. Let's go.
Yeah, we're calling out of work.
Sure,
got nothing planned.
Celtics game, movies.
Yeah.
Now movies, our family makes that an event, dude. We get popcorn, but popcorn's like $85, right? Per bucket now. And then an extra $25 for butter, right? And then salt, probably like $3 each, or $3 each pour, But we do it, we get it anyway, because we know it's an experience. We make it a huge event, and we come and we sit down. I know for me, if I fall asleep, I might fall asleep.
No, it's real though.
But it's an event. So it's just like that. Anything you want to do and tackle, make it an event. Schedule what you got to do.
Yeah.
You know, and learn and know that you're and mentally know that you have these skill sets and these tools and put them in your pocket. Just know that you have them available. Those are 3 things. If you do those 3 things, dude, your 6 months, your year, your week even can be a lot different.
Wow. That's key, man. I'm walking away with a lot, but I think that scheduling and making these things events, because yeah, I mean, events are something to look forward to, you know,
Yeah.
rather than like how do I explain it? Like something I have to do feels like something I get to do, like
Right.
when it's an event, you know. So I think that's key. I think even like
Point.
scheduling, you know, oh, put my phone in the hallway, or just different like small things like that, can help remind you and help you kind of live by your own schedule in a way. Because sometimes you just start freelancing. I don't even know if that's the right word, but we just start like living life free, and it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna
Freestyle.
chill, I'm gonna relax, do nothing for the whole day, which isn't, you know, some days are meant for that, of course.
It's
you know,
time for that.
time for all, you know. But I think that just being intentional about your day, because this could, you know, this could be the day where things change. So I like that. That's good stuff.
It's funny you say that too, because I think about this analogy too. Like in the entertainment business, you know, and this was hard for me the transition, because we did big events and big shows or whatever, we had assistants helping us out. We had people telling us for call time. We had people talking to us about our costumes. We had people, you know, saying, "Hey, now we can go here. Oh, do you guys need food?" We had assistants. Even when you schedule things in for yourself on your phone, that's your personal assistant right there.
Wow.
It's not just a phone. It's not just a schedule. It's your personal assistant.
Sheesh.
And so I take that with me. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I do. I love technology. That's how I use technology.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm able to master it as my assistant.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
Cook up.
I want to, you know, just another question, like, how important is like perspective? Because you speak a lot about, you know, looking at that as assistants and things like that. How important is your perspective in your day-to-day life?
I think perspective is huge. I think perspective is a game changer, because it's interesting. 3 people could look at the same thing and think totally different things. I could look at the Charles River. We're in Massachusetts. I could look at the Charles River and say, wow, this is a beautiful river. It's right by Museum of Science. The way, you know, just that area is, and the way it is by the Esplanade, the half shell, it's beautiful. Another person come along and say, wow, that river is dirty. I don't even want to be near it. Ugh. Another one might look at it a completely different way, or have a combination of the two. You know, the one I want though is the one that says, "Oh wow, that's beautiful. This is so gorgeous," and it's so gorgeous that when people come to Massachusetts, that's one of the main locations. It's one of the main marquees, for lack of better words, that people look at, and they're in awe of how beautiful it is. Yeah. That's the way I want to look at it, because if I look at it like that, I'm going to want to go to the location.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
wow.
And the things you got to get done, right? The things you want to accomplish, your dreams and all these other things, that's your location. So how are you going to look at that location?
Yeah.
You're going to look at it like it's dirty water? Or you're going to look at it like the third one could be rain. You know, it's pouring and I don't want to go. Or you're going to look at it like, wow, what a beautiful location. Let's get it. I can't wait. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everything. Perspective is everything.
Yeah. And we have the power to pick whatever we want out of our situation. Right. You know, some people look at the situation they're in. It could be struggling, but still just have some joy to them, you know. Think about stories, like, you know, in the Bible too, but also just like you hear about people's success stories. Like they made the most of what they had. And I'm sure they didn't look at it as like, oh my gosh, life sucks. But wow, let me go change my life. Let me go make a difference and, you know, make ways for my family. And that's a whole different perspective. Those are 2 different things to look at. Same situation, but it's 2 different perspectives, because one will get you to your goal. One will kind of keep you stuck in a cycle. So I like what you said about that. The river, it could be dirty water. It could be like a nice, beautiful view.
Yes. Shoot, I'm gonna go meditate on that a little bit later too.
Yeah, that's real. Yeah. So what advice do you feel? I mean, what advice do you have for like young people who feel kind of lost and unsure and are kind of looking for their future path?
You have more authority. You have more power than you think. The key is you want to tap into that power. What would that power look like for you? For me, it's spiritual. I'm looking at, wow, God gave me authority. He gave me a power, and I want to explore it. The goal is I don't want to abuse it. I also don't want to not acknowledge it. I want to strike a balance and understand it and harness the power and give him glory with it. Live my fullest potential with it. However you want to say it, that's the goal.
Yeah.
You have a power. There's no one on this planet who's like you. No one who has the same fingerprints. There's no one who can think like you think. There's no one who has your specific creativity. You're very unique. There's no one else like you on this planet. So how do you want to make your mark? Think about how you're going to make your mark. Because there's some, no matter what you've been through, because a lot of people have been through a lot of challenges and a lot of people have traumas. Even through that, you have impact that you can make on this planet. And it's good impact that you can make. You have that potential. Live it to the fullest of your potential.
Thanks for that. That's good. I think, yeah, it's so easy to forget that too.
Yeah.
Wow. It's so easy to forget that. We have so much power and we're unique. I think like sometimes, like I know for me, in my space where I work, I feel like there's so many people that are, how do I explain it? There's always going to be someone maybe that appears to have more status than you or appear to gravitate to these type of people more than you and different things. But that's because they're using their power to gravitate to their people, but we all have our own unique gifts. The way that we talk might reach someone that says the exact same thing, but it didn't click with them the first time. You know how like sometimes like your mom can tell you to do something and then like I'm just keeping it real, love you mom, but my girlfriend would say something and then it's just like, oh, you're right, and it's like, whoa, my mom definitely said that. Ouch, I think
painful,
so painful. I think that
edit that part out.
I think that with that, I think sometimes it does take one person like to say it over and over again to click, but I think some people have just this distinct way of saying things. It's just like, wow, I don't know why it clicked for me this time with you and not the other way. But yeah, you have power, and the way you say things, the way you do things, the way you carry yourself, your example, all these things are going to really help the people around you to get to that next level. You can inspire people with who you are, and you can even, you have a lot to offer to this world. So it's dropping some gems.
Dropping some gems.
Yeah. So, I think, I want to ask you, like, what are some practical steps? Because some people might be more practical. What are some practical steps people could start taking to find their, like, self-discover themselves, like figure out who they are?
Figure out who they are. I mean, one, like I mentioned before, definitely get a coach or a mentor. But look for, one thing I think about, I love the example you mentioned how, between mom and your girlfriend, right? That's a really, really good one. And one thing I think about with that, that's only one example, but things like that, where if you feel like, okay, someone might say something and then someone might say something a certain way and it may resonate with me more. That's natural. That happens. But you could also be intentional and be hyper intentional, I should say, and look for things. Because when you're hyper intentional, like we mentioned that word metacognition, right? You're thinking about your thinking, you're looking for opportunities, as opposed to just existing. There's a difference. So if you're looking for opportunities, no matter what it is, and this takes a maturity, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But it could take a hunger first, and then you can get to that maturity. That's an opportunity. That's an option as well. But, strive to do that. Strive to look for opportunities where you can grow. And that sounds kind of generic, but what do I mean by that? Write a list down, get a piece of paper or get notes in your phone and think about what are some goals that I have. And I learned this from an author, Brian Tracy. You could take some time and do it. You could take about a weekend or a day. There's also another way you can do it. You could also take about 30 to 60 seconds. Because sometimes there are things that are already on our hearts and minds, but it's kind of stagnant there, or it's dormant, I should say. But if you kind of force yourself, kind of like that 5-minute rule, that 5-second rule book, if you force yourself to write it down really quick without worrying about perfection, you'll have some information right there. You'll have something tangible that you can look at and start there. That right there, my friend, is your starting point. Write that list of your goals down and ask yourself, what do I want to do with this? And then number 2, and say, who can help me to get there? Oh, I don't know. Well, I tell you what, Uncle Google, Uncle Google is very helpful with that information. And then sometimes even with that, though, it's hard to ask the right question. So who can help me, or what kind of coaches talks about this? What kind of coaches talk about learning how to be a WWE wrestler? We had someone in one of your public speaking events that talked about that. What's going to help me to become the athlete I need to become with basketball? What's going to help me to be that artist, that musician? What's going to help me to start a business? I tell you what, that's a starting point right there. And then only look for about 5 to 10 things, because if you're not careful, that could become a rabbit hole. Just look, just get started. Start with a few things, and that right there, my friend, will help you out.
I think that's really cool too. I think starting out with just who or how can I get there? How can I get to that point? And even with like that kind of what you were saying, having like a vision for yourself. It's not easy to have a vision for yourself. Sometimes we don't have visions, but what do you like to do, or what do you want to do? What do you dream about doing? And then find someone that would be like the dream example of that. So like if I want to be a basketball player, I look to like a Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. I can't shoot like any of them or play like any of them, but I will look to them and kind of look at their dedication to the game. Look at their Oh, I like that. One day. You look at their dedication to the game. You look at their approach to basketball, their perspective. That's deeper than basketball though, right? But you can also look at, some tips that they shared about them, how they do it. Almost become a student of their game, and being a student of kind of a mentor or someone that you aspire to be, or somewhere you aspire to be. I mean, you just are figuring it out. You're clawing and scratching to figure out, how do I get here? I'm not going to stop until I get here. I'm going to ask the question I need to get to. And that honestly I feel like that honestly fuels your true fire. Like it literally gives you like a hunger. Like you said, like that hunger can develop. And the hunger starts to develop once you become more curious and more consistent. And the more you do that, it's just like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. This is what I can do in the daily, you know, and definitely.
I think that's important too, because, even for some people, even with and I'll say this before I say this too, you mentioned before too, your dream team. And I love that too. That's a great example, developing a dream team. You should talk about that at some point too. That's pretty cool. But that's helpful it's just good to have a starting point. You may have some people around you who may not be supportive. They might be supportive though. Who knows? But doing those things we talked about, I mentioned earlier as well, will help you out, whether you have people who are in your corner or not. I say that to say that there's some people out there who you don't have that type of community in your corner. And that's okay. I want to say that because sometimes people, I know for me, I felt like, I ain't got this, I ain't got that. So it stopped me. It stunted me from getting where I wanted to get to. And I was lucky. I was very blessed too to have at certain seasons people in my corner. And there were times where I didn't, So whether I did or not, I learned that with these tools, I'm able to move forward.
Yeah, that's good. I think always just allowing mentorship, but also allowing just situations to help you in a way find your true fire. Because I mean, how do I explain it? Sometimes like we don't have the benefits and all the things that we wish we see our friend in the corner have. They have all these people in their corner, and I don't got anybody that cares about me. It can feel like we can victimize ourselves a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think even with the concept of Dream Team, like I think about, you know, I don't know if you guys know basketball, but the 1990 I think it's 1992 Dream Team with, you know, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan. That's where I got the idea from.
Nice.
But I think just the idea of a dream team, you don't need necessarily people sitting next to you all the time on your dream team. You know, it's cool that, we work together and collab,
yeah, it's a blessing.
But even if I'm, away in Canada or something, we could still connect. I can watch, even if he's sleeping, I could watch his TikToks. I can look at his channel. I could look up different people's that are on my dream teams, videos, what they put out, the conversations we had, the things I write down from them. And those things I can really learn from them 24/7. It's almost like a 24/7 way to learn and grow with them. So even whether you have people in your corner, whether you don't, you have the ability to create a dream team where these people are always able to motivate and inspire you and even give you ideas. You might see the way that someone you really deeply look up to, like an artist or a athlete you look up to. It's like, wow, I like the way they did that. I'm going to go incorporate this tomorrow. You learn from them, and they might not, like Kobe Bryant might not be in your corner, or LeBron James might not be in your corner, but you can still learn from them. Mm-hmm. And that's really cool. I just think like never limit yourself to seeking out those people, because situations can kind of make us feel that we have nobody, but there's so many people that can inspire us and help us out.
Right. And honestly, too, when you have them on a dream team, it's kind of like they are in your corner.
Seriously.
If you use your imagination, it depends on your perspective, right? But if you have that perspective, and that can propel you, it's a lot of things we do. I believe it's more than 80% mindset. And other things is the action is important too. But you have the right mindset, it's going to help you navigate forward to where you want to get to 100%. Get to your dreams and goals.
That's so true. Wow. Yep. I'm going to be making sure my mindset's on point.
Let's go.
Let's go, man. So this has been awesome. I wanted to, let's go cook up.
Cook up.
So for those wondering, where can people find you online? How can people get to know more information about you and what you do, and even see what the content you're putting out?
Sure. Check out carlalleyne.com. All things Carl. That's my web hub. You can see the different things that I do, working with coaches and public speakers and authors and business owners, helping them to learn how to communicate and connect with people, on stage and on camera, and having a strong presence. And also, I do have a community in that umbrella and that website too, just with social dancing, social dancing has done a lot for me. Like even with everything I do now, performing in social dancing that's the core of what I've learned. So I'm able to create that environment and that community for people as well. Whether it's business professionals or just people who just want to learn how to socially gather together and connect with each other and amplify their presence. That's where you can find me.
Let's go. Well, there you have it. This is Find Your True Fire podcast. And thanks for your time. Appreciate everything.
Dude, thanks for having me. I feel honored as your dad. And
yeah,
I guess I'm still cool.
Oh, man, that's not going to change. That's not going to change. So
even if it didn't change in your mind, I'm cool anyway.
Cool anyway.
Hey, exactly. Why not?
You're cool.